Alright, you guys already know what this video is about. You already know that Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is hype right now, so let's get right into the list talking about what we need most in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Gonna start the list off strong as well by talking about change to the SOS battle system. Now, the biggest reason the SOS battle system needs change is because it's flawed, but it's also kind of everything to Pokemon battles in the Alola region, because it's how you encounter rare Pokemon, as well as a primary way of EV training Pokemon, and pretty much the only way of getting, like, enhanced shiny encounters in Pokemon. So if this has any kind of issues with it, it's going to kind of be a problem pretty much all the time. And the biggest issue with SOS battles is the adrenaline system. Now, once you pop an adrenaline orb, there's going to be a high chance that a Pokemon is going to call for help. And if that Pokemon shows up, that means you can't catch the other Pokemon. So it could lead to a lot of back and forth and then just stalling for turns. Also, if the Pokemon you're targeting has a low capture rate, you could just add 10 turns or more to a battle. And since it's kind of like a 2v1 situation as well, makes it a little unfair for your defending Pokemon, adds a couple of turns with battle animations, and it could just be minutes longer than it needs to. So I think that that's going to be one of the biggest changes that we need first, is a change to the adrenaline item, or also just make it to where the adrenaline orb has a counterpart, like the anti-adrenaline orb. Once you use it, the Pokemon won't call for help anymore. That way you can end the battle when you need it to, but just catching the Pokemon and calling it good right there. Also, I do feel that the Adrenaline Orb does need a little bit of a buff as well. As a battle item, had a bit of promise when we first heard about it, that it raises speed when you're intimidated. Well, Intimidate is a pretty key part to the meta, especially in doubles, but the problem is you can't really use it on a physical attacker. Sure, it gains speed, but it still loses its attack. So I feel that maybe the Adrenaline Orb also needs a change to where any Intimidate for that turn is negated. Because what if there's a double Intimidate Pokemon? Well, that means the Adrenaline Orb only refreshing one Intimidate could still not really be worth it, but it'd be really nice if Garchomp was at +0 attack instead of -1, and then gets like a free Choice Scarf just for running the Adrenaline Orb. I think it'll make it to where the shutdown, the overwhelming power that Intimidate has right now in the meta, would kind of be balanced out, because yeah, Adrenaline Orb was introduced to balance out that power, and it doesn't get any play because it doesn't offset the difference right there. Another thing I think needs a change with the SOS battles is that you should be able to catch the Pokemon even if there's two Pokemon on the field. So either make it to where there's like an anti-adrenaline item. I think Game Freak just needs to kill off that system that there's multiple Pokemon, you can't throw a Pokeball at them. That seems really dumb if you're trying to catch them all. And also, no one liked it when it was in Horde battles either. That if you're trying to like fish for the hidden ability inside of a Horde battle, that could get very, very frustrating. And also, what about double shiny Pokemon? It's happened in Horde battles, and it happens in SOS battles, and that's one of the worst feelings ever. Is like, okay, you have a shiny Pokemon, but because the adrenaline and whatnot makes the battle refuse to end, another shiny Pokemon appears. It's still a very niche situation, but with shiny Pokemon being so rare, you have to KO a shiny to catch the shiny. And also, it could help out with Ditto grinding as well. That sure, Dittos were introduced in the SOS system for IVs was really nice, but the problem is, people are still hacking and cheating the game anyways, so if you just can't catch 10 Dittos in a row, however many Dittos you need to catch in a row to try to grind up for that 5 or 6 IV Ditto, you're going to be at a major disadvantage anyways. So really, I think you should just be able to catch the Pokemon, that there's only very few situations where it can be abused. It's really just abusable on Dittos, or maybe trying to get multiple shiny Pokemon. That if I already have a max chain for the max odds on shiny and I catch a shiny, I can just stay in there until another shiny appears, instead of having to like go through the start and then work my way up. But I mean, if someone's dedicated enough to stay in a battle for, you know, 500, 600, 700 encounters, then they're going to be dedicated enough to just restart the encounter. So it'd be a little bit of a quality of life thing that kind of prevents some of the worst case scenarios from happening. Next up on the list, we need the No Lines mod to be accessible inside of the game. Like, unfortunately, it's only obtainable through hacking and using modification and hacking tools, which is forbidden by Nintendo, but it just makes the game look so much better. It's actually amazing. It's not like it's a simple change. It's like, oh, the game looks a little nicer. No, it's one of the greatest improvements, and it's in the game. I think that that's another one of the biggest issues, is that they used the no lines in the trailer to make the trailer look good, but there is no option inside the game for making your actual gameplay look that good. And it doesn't really seem to have any adverse effect. This was in the demo, for crying out loud. People were able to hack the demo to have the no lines mod before Pokemon Sun and Moon even was officially released. It's not that difficult. Why couldn't it have just been like you beat the game and then you can just have like a special item that toggles it and it makes your game look good? I mean, this would have just like made more players stick to Pokemon, honestly. Have a better spectating experience for the esports side of things, and just really have make people have more respect for the game. Now, if they're saving this for Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, I will forgive Game Freak if it is an intentional decision. That way Ultra Sun and Moon looks better, since they already announced the Switch version for the game after, and maybe not make fans as upset. That if Pokemon Sun and Moon looks really good inside the game, or at least has that HD looking option, but we need a little bit of a graphics update or else people are going to complain. I'm okay with it, but I think that any little upgrade could work, and we already know that this is insultingly in our face already as it is, so that's why we need it. Next up on the list, we need some kind of like bronze bottle cap or rusty bottle cap. A bottle cap that reduces IVs, because reduction of IVs is actually as powerful as having 5 or 6 IVs on a Pokemon as well. That the no good stat for certain Pokemon is very usable. You need a no good for speed in Trick Room teams. You need a no good in attack if you're a special attacker. That way Confusion and Foul Play do less damage. It's all about those little bits of competitive optimization, and again, this is where the hackers get the advantage. That if you're trying to catch a legendary Pokemon and you need it to have a no good in the speed, well, you're already gambling on having 3 IVs and potentially a 4th max IV as well, so it could land on the attack when you don't want it, or the speed when you don't want it, and even some Pokemon, in very rare situations, they want no good on other stats as well. That way they're as frail as possible to kind of enact some kind of defensive strategy that can potentially make it work out as well. So I think that this would be also a nice way of offsetting it. We saw that with like a lot of world champion teams back for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. People were just hacking in Kyogre that had 0 on the attack, or also making it to where, like, you know, their perfect hidden power Pokemon already had the no good IVs that it needs, and it's just a mess that, okay, bottle caps, they were introduced to try to make competitive more accessible, but then they also kind of left out a very key feature of competitive. So I think calling it like a bronze bottle cap, or even, I think rusty bottle cap. Like if it was a rusty bottle cap, you know, that makes sense. You're walking down the street, rusty bottle cap, so it does have like some kind of negative intrinsic value behind it, but then that could be something that could just reduce the Pokemon's IVs to nothing, and then you're going to be good to go just like that. Now, the next one on the list I don't think is a worry. That it's happening at some point. I feel it's a good play to make it in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Also, it hints at potential new mechanics inside Pokemon Ultra Moon as well, and that's going to be the starter Pokemon hidden abilities. That we're either going to get it through some kind of event, which we might as well save for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. You know, we get it around January, February. Well, that's going to kind of breathe a little bit of extra life in the game with a pretty big event that people might want to get a hold of. So that could work out pretty well. Also, maybe just like what they did with Munchlax, you know, you get the event Munchlax with a Snorlax MZ if you pre-order the game, or if you like play the game before a certain time frame, you can actually get these starters with the hidden abilities, or maybe some kind of new capture mechanic. That could be really cool. So it's not even like a question of if, it's just a question of when. We could also maybe see it sometime in the fall just on Sun and Moon, transfer it over into Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. That's like one of the big things. It's just sitting there. It's been sitting there and waiting there for us, and it's almost gotten to the point where it's forgotten about. It's like, oh yeah, we just don't have our Alola starter hidden abilities, and it's almost been, you know, a year, so why should we even care anymore? We're just gonna wait until it happens. But I think that it does add a bit more to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, will elevate the game, so I'm just reminding you guys, yeah, hidden abilities, that's a feature that we need. Next up, I'm also feeling that we need a nerf to the Tapu Pokemon. Now, we already know that Tapu Bulu is one of the least played, so it's like, oh, it getting an unnecessary nerf might feel bad. But the idea of terrains, I feel, is just way too oppressive when Pokemon can just come in and set it up, especially on a legendary Pokemon. When we have, like, the weather abilities, you know, those have more interactions. More Pokemon can take use of it. But it's just that the terrain, it doesn't interact with the weather. You can only use terrain to take out other terrain, and people will run Rain Dance more than they'll run like a terrain setting move as well. So it's kind of like the terrain wars isn't as intricate as just doing weather wars and trying to gain for that. And also, it's not as specific. If you set down psychic terrain, Ash is going to have a massive benefit instead of needing a Pokemon that works specifically under rain. That way, if like a sandstorm comes in, it's going to need to preserve that a bit more. There's really no threat. You know, you just slap down the Pokemon and then it gains an absurd amount of power. So what I feel is that the terrain setting abilities should only last for 3 turns, but then it can just kind of go up from there. That if it's going to be through a terrain setting moves can still have 5. That way you can maybe increase the usage of the moves and then make it to where the Tapu Pokemon aren't going to be as overwhelmingly powerful. it really doesn't feel fair to the Pokemon that have existed for the other 6 generations. You know, the meta balance just doesn't feel as healthy with just terrains being this free and this easy. Now, the terrain extender could maybe just double it to 6. That way, it also gives use to the items. So I feel like this is an effective way of finding balance. That you don't have this Pokemon that's running Scarf or Specs and doing absurd amounts of damage for the majority of the battle. It's going to have to kind of determine how much longer and how much more effective stats it wants out of it. And then you can also have terrain extender on the setting moves, going for like 8 turns or something, and then that could work out pretty well. But yeah, I think it's just one of the things where we've seen Tapu Koko. The only thing that makes Tapu Koko a threat is electric terrain. So we have 5 turns of Tapu Koko on the electric terrain. It can Volt Switch out, you can screw around for 2 or 3 turns, it can come back in, and then it's going to be able to still use that terrain. Now, technically, it's kind of weaker than if it comes out, waits for it to wear off, but you know, it gets too awkward to keep track of that. Also, Tapu Lele, it's the overwhelming amount of damage as well. And even Tapu Fini with, like, shutting down status for that long for free. I think that the Pokemon's stats and moves and everything else is kind of good enough, except for Tapu Koko. Its moveset's kind of bad. But I think it gets enough already to where getting all of that for free just doesn't help out the game. Now, I'm not trying to say that these Pokemon are too powerful and there's no way of getting around them and that they would be banned in some kind of other format that's fan-made or something. But overall, I think we just look at the overall health of the game, it's just bad for the health of the game. Even though they are just strong Pokemon, it's kind of just edging out all of the other Pokemon. Like I said, it's too free, too oppressive just to exist, so maybe that needs a little bit of tuning right there. Also, another thing that needs tuning is Intimidate. So we either need like the Adrenaline item buff, but I think that that's still not enough. Intimidate can be abused way too easily. If the opponent is running 2 Intimidate Pokemon, you just don't get to play physical for the game, and there's not a lot of counterplay around it. I think that that's the biggest issue with Intimidate. That's an ability, it comes in, and that's a free -1, and that's it. There's no real counterplay around that, and then you can just kind of keep cycling through Intimidate, and it can lock out your opponent really easily without much of a drawback. So I think that it's just a little too oppressive, and as we've seen throughout like the last couple of years, or last couple of generations of Pokemon, you know, whenever there's a competitive scene, eventually it just boils down to 2 Intimidates on every team, and then usually 1 is going to be picked for the battle, if not more, and then that's just kind of the meta. It's not fun to watch just like Intimidate switches while running Special Defense Bulk, so I think Intimidate finally needs to be hit. My ideas for Intimidate is that it can only be used once. That's like the Intimidate status. You only get -1 from an Intimidate once, and then that way you just can't keep cycling it out. And even then, I still wouldn't want to see it stacked. You know, it's just the idea of being able to go to half your attack off of a double Intimidate lead in doubles, or just 1 quick switch, and then all of a sudden you're at half damage for free. It just doesn't seem like a way of having any kind of balance inside the game. Like I said, the metagames eventually just stagnate into that, especially when I have Pokemon like the Landorus. And that's it, and it's a legendary Pokemon that still does a lot of damage with legendary things, and then it still is a hard Pokemon to take down. Like, Intimidate kind of keeps it safe from those non-stab Ice-type moves sometimes that are physical, and it's just really a mess to deal with. So I think that it would knock down some of the more fearsome Pokemon, let some other Pokemon get in, and then allow for more diversity in strategies, but also still be usable. That if you can still get a -1 and make a physical attacker weaker, that's cool. Shutting it out off of just an ability, that's not as cool. So I think that that's a change that we need to see as well. Going into some other ones, Festival Plaza. I've already said a lot of people have said a lot about this. My biggest thing is just like, you can keep the Festival Plaza. That's not bad. It could be a little better, honestly, like maybe just make it to where you could straight up buy items like Pokemiles, or have some kind of other exclusivities inside of it, instead of just making it, oh, RNG Lotto if you want a golden bottle cap or a Master Ball. No, I want to pay for maybe extra rolls a day or something, and also I want new ways of getting festival coins as well. That right now, there's no point of playing the Festival Plaza. You just do the global mission, save up, and then maybe something cool will happen. But I think the biggest issue is that the player search system just needs to come back in some capacity. That on the Festival Plaza, it's completely broken, it doesn't work, and it's not immediately accessible. That's why, hey, I have to go to the Festival Plaza if I want to do a battle, instead of just tapping my bottom screen, and then going to a battle or having the menus available. That looks clean for the PSS, so not really too much to ask for wanting it back. Some other things, let's go and talk about Ultra Beast right now. I've already, again, mentioned this in a video, and now this video has also gone on for a long amount of time, so I'm going to get through these last points kind of quickly. But Ultra Beasts, they need shiny encounters, honestly, and I think that that's another way of getting content into Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Like, I don't get it. people are worried that Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is not going to have as much, or it's just going to be the same as Pokemon Sun and Moon. But again, we have hidden abilities on Pokemon that are missing. We have other encounter ways that can be used. We have other ways of extending gameplay, and then we could actually put in shiny soft resets for the Tapu Pokemon as well as the Ultra Beasts. So I want those shiny Pokemon inside the game. The soft reset will at least give the shiny hunters something to do. Some more content on YouTube or always streaming content is nice, and then something that just adds a little bit of extra niceness to the game, because alright, you go through the Ultra Beast and it's done, but also I want a non-linear Ultra Beast story. One of the biggest things I hated about the Ultra Beast is if, oh, I want Kartana, but I just started the Ultra Beast missions, so that means I already have to know all of the other abilities I want for all of the other Ultra Beasts, or else I'm screwed over. And that's not really that fun, that you have to know exactly what nature you want on all of the Ultra Beasts up until that other one that you're trying to catch, and that could be a very big hindrance for competitive play. So just let me go and encounter them at my own pace, or also, instead of making it to where, like, you know, encounter 2, encounter 4, encounter 2, and then finish off or something, have me just encounter all of them once for like the data or something, and then give me a second chance at all of them at my leisure. I think that would be a really nice thing. Maybe we go into the Ultra Dimension and they're just sitting there like boss Pokemon. Maybe that's how they could also be a shiny encounter as well. I think that would just make it nicer for competitive play and not make me feel rushed, because I wasn't able to get my million Pokédollars for a long time, so I decided every Pokemon I wanted competitively on that Ultra Beast side. So yeah, quality of life stuff, and just adding content into Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Getting near the end of the list, I kind of want to see something equivalent to a giant patch competitively. That we already saw a huge change with Pokemon Sun and Moon. Like, it's mind-blowing, all of the changes, and unfortunately all of like the undocumented changes of new move sets, move power changes, new abilities, new everything for a lot of the Pokemon, like stats, all these kind of crazy upgrades and reworks for the Pokemon. Unfortunately, they weren't really documented that well, so I'd like to see documentation. I also like to see another big one, because yes, we saw some Pokemon get play, but we also saw that it didn't really work. So maybe nerf a couple of other Pokemon, kind of weaken a little bit of that playing field right there, bring out all the other ones, and then we can have a more diverse Pokemon. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. Two problems with Pokemon Sun and Moon competitive. Way too many hackers. I've been talking about this for like 3 years now, and getting on 4 years, so that's not really going to change too much unless Pokemon finds a way of like shutting it out for the Switch version or doing something major for Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. They did really good on the Japan Nationals this year, like their online championship series where they were banning top players and you had to give your prize money back if you cheated and won prize money. So I think that was a good step in the right direction, but also the other side of things, it's not only hacking that's killing it, but just the stale scene. And Pokemon has been stale since like the 5th generation with competitive, so people play some battles, they realize it's the same thing over again, they don't get to have as much fun, and that's one problem. That Game Freak has been killing a lot of the fun in Pokemon. I say they need a buff to evasion moves because it's been way too many nerfs, and I don't understand. It seems like Game Freak is trying to make Smogon happy, but Smogon will never be satisfied because they just want the power of having an unofficial format that they call better and more elitist than the official Pokemon format. So I think that they just need to reverse those changes. The Prankster nerf, not fun. You know, they need to put more fun back into the game by ridiculously buffing some old Pokemon and nerfing some of these Pokemon that are just way too consistent and way too strong. I would prefer something where just a whack fest of shenanigans and gimmicks, as we've already seen right now. Pokemon's esport, it's not taken off in its current state. It's just going to be better if we have something fun that people can be entertained with, and then that's just going to improve the life of the game. So I feel that, you know, buffing the evasion moves, because those aren't getting play. Everyone hates them, but they are so rarely used because they're not even that good to begin with, and now they're even worse because of like the minimize hate moves, like Heavy Slam, making it to where it hits through minimize, Body Slam as well. What's the point? Just unnecessary nerf to evasion. Smart Strike being introduced on a lot of Pokemon also hurts the reliability of playing evasion. The Swagger nerf, the Thunder Wave nerf, the Prankster nerf. There was so much fun removed from Pokemon Sun and Moon. You just can't gimmick anymore. You have to play standard, and one Pokemon still isn't built for that. Random crit, 30% chance on Scald, moves that are very powerful but can miss. You know, it's not meant to be a less RNG kind of game for a serious kind of side. The best thing about Pokemon is when you run something wacky and it works, and you still have to have enough skill to be able to outskill someone else that's playing the meta or doing something. There's no anti-meta anymore. So Game Freak, please work on that. Unfortunately, game's coming out pretty soon, so maybe these are more like what we're looking for Pokemon Game 2018, title to be announced kind of ideas, because we need to see these bigger changes that could bring some life back into Pokemon after what the community has just destroyed in the spirit of Pokemon as well. Last point, new Pokemon, kind of goes without saying, kind of doesn't really have much else that needs to be said. We didn't get a lot in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The designs were already fantastic though, so it kind of makes sense. We already have teases for new forms of Pokemon, so if there's just something else, more Alolan Pokemon, Ultra Evolution, some kind of form change, other interactions, or just straight up, you know, a batch of 25 new Pokemon. Just give us like a quarter or a third, you know, of the Pokemon that were introduced in the Alola region, and then yeah, we'll be happy. You know, just give us a little bit extra, kind of pumps another couple of weeks of gameplay in as we figure those guys out, messes around with the metagame, and then there's a little bit more fun inside Pokemon. I think that's kind of it. Anything else, like Pokemon following you? I feel that's better on the Switch. I feel we don't need to force Pokemon following you. It was already perfect in Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I'm okay if it never comes back, but it would be appreciated if we do see it again, because it does kind of bring that Pokemon experience together. But I think with the way that the fans have kind of overreacted, saying, ooh, no Diamond Pearl remakes. Oh my god, the Wingle's following you in the trailer. We have to have Pokemon following you in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think the community just doesn't deserve nice things at this point. So, you know, we don't really need Pokemon following us either. And yeah, I don't think it'll make the game much better or make it much worse without it. So we should save it for a crazier Pokemon experience coming up into the 8th generation, or Diamond Pearl remakes, or whatever they're doing for the confirmed Switch version. I think that's all that I have to say about what we need in Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. It wasn't a lot of points. Like, if I did top 10, I'd be here for an hour. Did I end up getting 10 points or 10 things to talk about? I didn't really keep track. It's just, there's a lot of issues, but they're not bad. You know, it's like, oh, see, Pokemon Sun and Moon sucks because you have all these issues with it. But I mean, no, this is just quality of life. The Pokemon Sun and Moon was already a really good game, and this would just make Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon a better game. And that's what you need. When you're doing a sequel version like this, or yeah, a sequel version, you need something that's going to be better, that stands above. That we take something great like Pokemon Sun and Moon, and then we turn Ultra Sun and Moon into one of the best Pokemon experiences ever. We're going to need polish. We're going to need to kind of take away any frustration. We're going to need to take away any complaints. And then people are going to be happy, and then that's kind of just how we breathe life back into the community. And that's going to be one of the biggest things I'm going to say for like the next couple of years of Pokemon, as I just watch the community get worse and worse. We need the extra hype right there. And these are just the simple changes, you know, just small things, and all of a sudden, better experience overall. So if you guys enjoyed the video, if you like this video, please leave a like, share with your friends, subscribe, all kinds of fun stuff like that. You know, YouTube, we need to do this now because videos are dying. Could have split this into 2 parts maybe, but I think this video works out just fine. And then I've got a couple more ideas as we get into the Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon hype. So guys, enjoy the video. I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.